Welcome to Femme and Furious, a podcast where pop culture meets a feminine framing. I am your host, Julia Rose Portella, and joining me today is one of my favorite bookish content creators, the Lost Books of Jess. We are going to be diving into the power of joy in our hobbies, joy in community, and Jess is one of those people who has a page that just feels like a warm hug when you land on her little corner of the interwebs. So I am so excited to welcome her to the podcast. But before we dive into today's episode, let me tell you how you can follow both Jess and the pod. You can subscribe to the pod on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch every episode of the podcast on YouTube. Can watch it on Spotify as well. You can follow the pod on Instagram at Femme and Furious Pod, and you can follow Jess over on Instagram at The Lost Books of Jess. You can send me an email. Inbox is open if you have thoughts, feelings, opinions about joy, hobbies, books, community, anything that we talk about today. You are free to send me an email. That is at femmeandfuriouspod@gmail.com. And Jess also has a book club that you can join. It's virtual. It's through an app on your phone, so it's nice and easy to connect if you're looking for some joyful community to participate in. That is the Chaos Cadre, and they are currently reading Watermoon. And she also has some merch over on Etsy. I will tag both of those in the show notes, so if you're looking to join and participate and hang out with Jess a little bit more, those will be some fun ways for you to connect with her and her community. And if you want to join the Two Femme, Two Furious community, I have a special going for the next 2 weeks for anyone who listens to this episode and wants to be a part of the Two Femme, Two Furious community. It'll be 50% off your first month if you use the code CHAOS at checkout. Otherwise, it is $10 a month, and you will get Femme and Furious fully loaded bonus episode once a month, at least once a month, sometimes more. You get a 15% discount on my merch and my live events. You get Sunday Brunch, which is a virtual monthly hangout. You get the Suffragette Award, which is access to our voting privileges, to episode topics, to bonus content, and more. You get Tea Time, which is our online chat, and then you get Fast Five, which is a weekly content roundup. Without further ado, I welcome Jess onto the podcast. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
You have no idea. This is, I was out with my family and I was like, I'm just gonna shoot my shot and send her a DM because I really love her content. I just feel like we'd have a really good conversation.
Yeah.
So when I was preparing and in fact, by the way, you've been talking about so much stuff recently that I'm super excited to dive into, especially your stories this morning. But before we dive in, I was like, how do I want to introduce you? And I wanted to come up with a title. And then I was like, the best people in fantasy have these really long, very loquacious titles. So I'm going to tell you what I came up with for you.
God,
and I feel like this should be on your official business cards.
I'm ready.
Okay. Queen of Chaos, connoisseur of a crispy Diet Coke, the Baroness of Bulletin Boards, Princess of Pickle Positivity, Protector of Preternaturals, first of her name, Mother of Lost Books, Jess.
Beautiful.
Just right behind you.
Yes. I just make a border around this bulletin board, like the fine print.
I'll send you one.
Perfect.
So, can I ask a question? What is the Lost Books of Jess? Where did that name come from?
All right, so I guess this is where we get into, how times have changed. So when I started my Bookstagram, I was like, oh, I need a hook. I need a niche, and I had just reorganized my bookshelves and discovered all of these books that I was harboring like fugitives, but I hadn't read. So I put them all on one shelf and I was like, this year I am reading these books. And so I called it the Lost Books of Jess. And like, if you scroll far enough on my account, you can find a very poorly made reel where I explain this. And I was determined. And then I didn't do that at all. I did not do that. I got sucked into everything else. And I gave half of those books away, if I'm being honest, here in the cone of trust. But that's where it came from. So I don't know what the lost books are anymore, but that's what they were. Somebody told me it still counts because I'm still reading things that would have gotten lost if I hadn't read them, but I just kept the name.
I think the name is great. It's actually one of the things that made me follow you, because for me, when I was growing up, this was like just constantly out of Borders books, which doesn't even exist anymore, but like just constantly on the train tracks of a Borders books going to the back into the like IA section. And for every birthday, for like as long as I can remember, because this was before there was like Kindle, and every weekend I would go to the library with my mom. I read books that I probably should not have been reading, like a lot of older Judy Blume books. Before like I was age appropriate for Judy Blume, and just defined my childhood, and also explains so much of who I've become today.
We were all raised by Judy Blume at one point in time. I'm convinced.
I look back on it and I was like, I was reading like Deanie and Tiger's Eye like way before I understood the content of it, and have gone back as an adult and been like, I've loved her. Like I read every book and I've been like, why was I allowed to read this? Why wasn't this in the children's section? So it was my escape as a kid. I had divorced parents. They divorced pretty early, so like never knew what they were married, but just constantly nose in a book. And I sort of lost that. And I feel like this reemergence of like book talk and Bookstagram has been this like reclamation of something that we all actually seemingly enjoyed as kids and have pulled back in. And so I'm actually eventually at some point today, I will share how I actually found your content, because I'm sure it's like a combination of Bookstagram and just like Kismet divine universe, like the way that stuff just pops up on your feed. But I loved like the name. Like that was one of the things that caught my attention with your account first, is these lost books, because that's really how it felt for me. Not just like, I love that it was like just your TBR. Like just
I wish I had a better story for you. Like, no,
but I think it's so great, because isn't that what this community has been? You know, the community at large, because I would say the community that you're cultivating is really specifically why I wanted to reach out to you and have this conversation, because when I was starting Femme and Furious, I wanted it to be a space for women. And I think so much of what Bookstagram, obviously it's not just women. I think it's like sort of starting to expand out to men, but I would say it's a predominantly women space, femme-leaning space. And I don't know, I just love what you're creating, because I find that you are so different, and I mean that in the best way. Like it is, you're not necessarily reading what everyone else is reading. In fact, I always try to read what you're reading, because I'm like, I haven't heard many people talking about that, some stuff, but and I just feel like you show up, and it's not just about books. And the thing that actually really made me follow your account and really become a huge fan of yours is, if I can like call myself a fan, is that weird?
Roll with it.
Okay. Is your chaos questions. So I told you just briefly before we got on, I have two sisters. They're 14 and 16. I am in my 30s. We have a very unique family dynamic, as you can imagine. And I moved to Massachusetts. My family lives in New York. I'm now home in New York, but at the time I had moved to Massachusetts. I was there for a couple of years. And in the beginning, it was like a really nice base of solitude. I got not one Kindle, but two, because I'm unwell, and had floor to ceiling bookshelves. It was like, I love my apartment. Like it was this beautiful space. And it really was something that helped me reconnect, not just to the book community, but like to this inner piece of myself. And after like a few years of being in my own solitude with my 3 cats, I was like, I think I'm lonely. Like I think it's pushed past solitude and like enjoying my own company to like, I genuinely don't have community. I feel really alone. So I was like, I want to start reconnecting with my family. I'm always connected with them, but I've got 2 teenage sisters. They're bopping around. They're doing other stuff. And you started posting these chaos questions, and that's the content that would always come up on my feed. And I would send it to my sisters, and I would be like, in particular, I don't know why this is the one that sticks out in my brain.
Oh, I'm dying to know this. Everyone has the one that was like the pinnacle for them.
It was when you posted what color are all of the subjects in school.
Oh,
A
this
lot
one
of
makes
strong
me mad.
opinions.
This one
So
makes me mad.
I was in special
Okay.
ed for a few years. I'm now an astrologer, and now I'm doing this podcast. So I don't know. I do a whole bunch of stuff, but I was in special ed for a long time and had to color coordinate things very specifically in my classrooms based off preferences of my students.
Yep.
So this changed for me every year. But when you asked this question, I had very strong opinions about it. And my sisters, who are in high school, also had strong opinions about it. And my mom was just along for the ride in the group chat. And I remember just like getting off of that group chat and being like, this girl Jess, who has no idea who I am, like I occasionally DM you, you probably have no idea who I am, and I'm like, doesn't even know that she's given me, I'm gonna get choked up, this lifeline in a space where I was just needing to connect with people and would have this go-to because you would post it every day. So I would be like, what do you guys think about this one? What do you think about this one? And it was just a touchstone in my day with my family, then became my friends. Then I would start to bring it out to my clients. And it really, I know this is like such a dramatic thing to say, but I am dramatic at my core. But it changed my life. It reminded me of what it is to really be in community and to have conversation and to not just be in like the, how was your day and what were you doing? Like a really thought-provoked question, silly as they may be. And on the days that I would be busy or I would be doing something, my 14-year-old sister would be like, well, what's the chaos question of the day? And I'd be like, I don't know. I haven't been on Instagram. Let me go see what Jess posted so that I can text you what it is because I'm not coming up with these on my own. So you really gave me a bridge at that moment. And it's actually one of the reasons that I decided to move home. I was like, I think I just want to be home with my family for a little bit. And, you know, going against the grain of what it is to be in your 30s and like living on your own and like doing all of the things.
Yeah.
And then getting this space to come back. I really started to pay attention to your account after that. And I just think that you have such a beautiful gift. The gift is not your insight to books, although your bulletin boards are masterful. But the gift that you have, I think, is to remind people that these are spaces that are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be communal and that there is more to the online space than just monetizing or, you know, how to grow your account. And I really just, I find it very authentic. I find it very fresh.
Thank you.
And it makes me also take your insight into books so much more deeply. Like, I'm like, well, what are you saying about it? Because I know that you don't care what other people are saying about it. So I know you're not trying to like do it to keep up with the Joneses. You just want to put your thoughts and opinions out there. And it allows people to connect in a way, either on your, you know, on your comments or through your content or just in general, like other people I follow, some of my friends in real life that you know, I'll be like, did you see Jess post or things like that, because we all follow you now, at least all of my friends who read. So I really think you just have such a beautiful gift, and I don't know.
No,
Stop rambling.
No, it's funny because so many of the things you're mentioning are things that happened organically, right? Like I think so many people start social media accounts with intention of this is what I'm going to do with it, or it's a personal account, or it's about books or cooking or whatever it is. And I had that and I held on for like a month to like, this is what this was going to be about. And as I started getting people in my corner and in my space, I was like, I don't want to do, like, I just want to do me, you know, and let those people hang out with me if they want to. And if they don't, they can go, you know. And I think the most fun that I've had, I spend 95% of my screen time on Instagram in my comments and DMs talking to people. I don't spend a lot of time making my content. My videos are typically pretty straight. I sit here, you're looking at it, and I just record my face. And I've gotten so fast at putting captions on and moving on with my life because I just want to talk to people. And I think the number one DM I've received in the last year and a half is people saying, you feel like a friend. Like, I don't have anybody who reads these books who I get to talk to regularly, but you respond to me and you're reading these books too, and you make me feel less alone. And I think that's like such part of the communal experience of reading and the good side of social media, right? Because there's a lot of bad on social media. We can't ignore that. But it's also a tool people didn't have 30, 40 years
Yeah.
ago to feel less alone.
I think it's great. And I agree. I always am shocked. You always respond to DMs so quickly, and I'm always like, okay, hi. Because I'm like, well, I'll be lucky if she answers me. She's got like a bajillion followers,
Yeah.
and you are always quick to respond. And I think you're right, and especially with books becoming more popular, I've gone back and forth with this because on one hand, I think there's so much beauty in the space, and I love that like Barnes and Nobles is like expanding because they can't keep up with it because people want it. And I mean, listen, there's a bad side to all of the special editions, but I love that there are indie artists who are getting to put their art in these books because people have found their fan art online and like love it and love these worlds. And I was like, I hope like the sprayed edges never go away. Like books are not that they were not beautiful before, but people are paying attention to how beautiful all of this stuff is again. And there is such a lovely side to the space. And then there is this like very vicious, I don't know if vicious is the right word, but like I almost want to say like shame inducing. Like, how could you not read this? I remember when you put out a post, this had to have been like close to the beginning of the year, where you were like, I'm not going to read Onyx Storm. Like, I'll get to it when I get to it. And I don't know if you've gotten to it yet, but I was going to say, I feel like I haven't seen you post about it, but I remember you put that out and I like my stomach sank for you because I was like, oh, I hope people are kind about this, because it's like one of those things where of course you have to read it. It came out in January. Like, what else are you going to be talking about? You're a book account. How could you not be talking about Onyx Storm? And I was like, on one hand, I was like, I commend you. I really think it's great when like people can deviate and just be like, I'm gonna do that when that feels good. And then, you know, the other side of it, I think, is what you really ground into, which is this is a space for us to just chat. Like, it should feel like you're with your girlfriends. It should feel like you can pull up with your Diet Coke and just sit down and like, let's have a conversation about this and about what it means and about the so I can't even tell you how many books I just read. Blood Over Brighthaven, which
Are you well? Are you okay?
No.
Do we need to just making sure? Because I still think about that one.
I had no idea what it was.
Woo,
I
neither
just
did I.
knew that you posted about it, and I wanted to be able to go back and look at your content for it. And same thing, I just put Trial of the Sun, whatever, the one you're reading now.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, it's on Kindle Unlimited, I'll download it. But I had no idea what Blood Over Brighthaven was. No idea.
Well, you found out.
One of those cases where the book finished me.
Yep.
Put my Kindle down and was like, it's time for a beach read. It's time for something. I was like, no fantasy I just need a little tiny, just a smidge, just a break. But I wanted to be able to go back to your content, and I trust your opinion so much because I know that you're not trying to like grow your account, and like now all of these book accounts are becoming, like you're saying, these like very niche things. And I think this is a thing for women in general, and the social media space really makes it very difficult. This idea of being niche, being singular, like you are a mother, or you are your job, or you are, and I think you see that especially in motherhood, like that is the defining role, and people don't know how to come out of that and be the other facets of self. And so I love that, like, at any given moment I could pull up to your page and we just might be doing a Diet Coke test, or we might just be, which just cracked me up, by the way. We might be making a s'mores grilled cheese. We might just be throwing it back to that trend. And I love that it just feels like in all of these moments, super connective. I don't know. I can't commend you enough. I just think that you really do community well.
Thank you.
And I really value what you bring to an online space because I don't think there's enough of it.
Thank you.
So to touch on this, because you kind of posted about it this morning where you're like, I was like signing up for ARCs and like, I don't even want these things. Like,
yeah.
So how do you find that the pressure of the other side of Bookstagram infiltrates?
So
if at all?
It's funny because it's all interwoven, right? Because when you join Bookstagram, you learn about all these things. I didn't know these things existed. I've been a reader since the day I learned B said B, and I never knew publishers sent out advanced copies of books or that people were on teams for all. I mean, this was news to me. over the last year. And it's such a cool thing, right? And I said that a little bit this morning in my post, that I don't think any of these practices are wrong or bad, because we're supporting authors and independent
Yeah.
artists and makers of book things, right? But I think where it gets tricky is you start to feel like you are not doing book social media properly if you're not doing these things. Like if you're not able to say, I read 10 arcs this month, or I'm on this author's team, or I'm going to this
Yeah.
convention, or, I bought the next 17 pieces of merch. And I have dabbled in all of those things, but you have to draw a personal line.
Yeah.
Like you can't do it all. And it creeps in so easily, right? From watching other people who are promoting these things, because that's what social media is.
Yeah.
It's people promoting, whether you're promoting community or objects or books, or sometimes I just get DMs, people who want me to participate in things. And I've had to own the guilt of telling people no.
Mm.
Like, I really appreciate what you're doing and I hope you find people to support you, but I'm at capacity as a
Yeah.
human.
Sure.
Because I don't want, the times I have done some of these things, it took away from what I wished I was doing, but you want to help. And then it's a weird, I don't know the word, like it's a weird, how to find the mixture for yourself is
Yeah.
challenging. And I don't, like I said, I don't think any of it's wrong, but it's easy. You can start to see the psychology in your brain of
Yeah.
feeling like it's that FOMO.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I want free books. Other people have free books. And then I'm like, well, someone's going to give me that free book and I'm not going to read it.
Yeah.
So I didn't
Like
want to
for
read. So it's
what? Yeah.
wasteful. But if people are reading them, go for it. Go to town. But that's not me. I've only read 2 arcs in a year and a half, and they were both very choosy things that I definitely wanted to do.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I think I've seen so many more people now in like the space of, now we're not just influencing with books. Now we're like, how to grow your Bookstagram. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, what are you reading? I just want to know what you're
Yeah.
reading. What's your coffee order?
Yeah.
How do you like things in the world? And I don't know. I had a Bookstagram for a very brief period of time, in which in that period of time I posted a video that said, I'm not sure how I feel about the next ACOTAR book because I don't know if I want a Bible-sized book about Elaine. I just don't. And it went viral.
Oh.
And I was getting tons of people who on both sides. And I was just like,
Yep.
this is very interesting to me. And then I would post about other stuff and I'd be like, here's what else I'm reading. And here's some really insightful things. And like nothing. It was just
Yep.
this one post about Elaine. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to post about ACOTAR for the rest of my life. I just don't. I don't even remember half of the details. Okay, outside of the stroking of the wings. I don't remember. So I want to move on and talk about other stuff. And it was like, I couldn't escape this one post that I posted about ACOTAR. Yeah. And I deleted my Bookstagram and I left it for a little bit. And that's why I ended up with the podcast, because I was like, well, I don't just want to talk about books. I want to talk about Marvel, and I want to talk about movies, and I want to talk about The Last of Us, which is one of the things I'm covering right now. Like, I want to talk about all sorts of stuff because this is what brings me joy. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be limited to just books. I certainly want to do that. And I felt like I wanted to get into that book space because I was like, well, I want to be on this, like you're saying, like in this FOMO where I'm like, well, I'm reading these books and I have something to say and I want to talk about it too. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I actually don't. I just want to, yeah. I do, but I don't. And it doesn't need to be structured like this.
Yeah. I think it's hard because I think the question we're ultimately getting at is how can the people behind these different types of accounts coexist in a community?
Yeah.
Because I fully support, I have friends in the Bookstagram space who their goal is to create a business. They are trying to grow an account because they want to quit their 9-to-5 and make social media their life. And I respect the heck. I mean, it's 2025, live your dream, but then how do we coexist when your goal, like for me, is totally different, right? I don't want to monetize my account. I don't want to turn it into something, but at the core, we're both readers, right? And I think that's why, like, I respect other people's goals, but then you have to stand firm that they're not your goals. And just because somebody else's goals are different doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. And like you said, you can curate your feed. If I have too many people coming up on my feed that I'm like, I don't want to see this anymore, I'm gonna unfollow people,
Yeah.
which I haven't had to do a lot. I follow so many lovely
Yeah.
people,
Me
but I
too.
would hope someone would do the same thing to me. If they're like, I am sick of that girl sitting at her desk talking about her drama, I'd be like, then just go,
Yeah.
and so it's hard to exist in the hustle space when you're not hustling, is what
Yeah.
I've learned in this past time.
It comes off so authentic though, because the way that you get on, like even this morning when you were like, I don't want that. Like
Yeah.
I'm chasing something I don't even want. And it's not the first time you've posted something like this.
Yeah.
And those are always the things that like suck me in, where
Mhm.
I'm like a real person with real values, with a real family who we occasionally hear about via their sub names, co-host and co-host 2.0. Occasionally see a leg, which we saw last night or the night
Oh
before.
yeah.
And your son, by the way, cracks me up. Your son always has like the best commentary. He's so
He's a scene.
dry. I love it.
He's something.
He gives like the most dry cut answers, and it's the best ever.
Thank you.
I'm like, that's good parenting right there. You could just tell the way that he
Thank
says
you.
things. You're like, yeah, buddy, I like that. That's a good answer. But I think you have such this beautiful way of pulling people in, and that to me is what your account is about. It's fine, it's the lost books, but or the found books perhaps at this point, but
Honestly, who knows?
this amazing space that you have, and then you started your book club.
Mm-hmm.
I was like happy when you were like, we're pushing the book off to
Yeah.
do it. I was like, yay, because all of my holds from the library came in all at once, as they are wont to do. And now I'm doing the podcast, and I'm like, oh, I have certain stuff slotted certain places, and it's changing my reading and my content schedule a little bit, and I'm finding that that's actually helpful for me to like get into a better zone, because I just plow through books, just plow through them, and then I'm like, I don't even know what I read this month, but I have no idea, and so it's keeping me more on track. But I love the way that you share it, because you'll kind of just post tiny little snippets as you're like going through your day. And now you're doing the upside down thing. And oftentimes I'm reading these as I'm trudging from, I work at a resort. So while I'm going from like a class, I teach classes and then I take up private appointments. So I'm usually like trudging through the resort, reading these upside down. And then I'm like, okay, well now I have to read the book. And because I want to know what you have to say about it, because it just feels like we're hanging out online. And I'm sure that that's gotta be like such a weird and also profound feeling to just have so many people invested in you as a person, not just like what you're reading, but they care about these things that you care about, or things that you post, or as silly as they may be. But I like, you started doing the positivity pickle, and that came at a time when I was like, I don't know if I'm at rock bottom, but this one pickle post from Jess is gonna save my life.
Bring me.
It's gonna fix the timeline.
Yeah.
Because it's you just have such a beautiful way. I can't say it enough. It's like all I wanted to say. I just wanted to get online with you for a whole hour and just tell you how much I love you.
I mean, okay. No, in so many ways, this account saved me too. Like if we're gonna be here cheesing together, the winter that I started this account, it was pretty low. In fact, I'm like having like a late 30s crisis, we'll call it. Like like you said, what is my identity? Who am I?
Yeah.
What do I value? What am I doing? My son is getting older-ish, like he's gonna be 8 this summer, and I'm at a place in my career where I'm looking at it and going, what do I want the second half of my career to look like? And I just felt so lost. And I miss in the peak of one of the peaks of TikTok in the pandemic, I had a TikTok for the same reason. I was like, I'm so sad and alone and bored. And I do improv comedy as a hobby. And so I was like, I can do this via social media. So my TikTok was more like skit comedy based. It was not about books at all. So when I started this book account that winter, I had this thought. I was like, oh, you used to love that, Jess. That made you so happy to create these things and connect with people. And I was like, I'm going to give it another shot. But TikTok is a feral wasteland. And I was like, I'm not going back. I'm not going back there. So I was like, Instagram. Instagram is like the middle ground between Facebook and TikTok.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to try. And it really gave me a place too to feel less alone. Like, I know people tell me I do that for them, but I hope people realize the feeling I get that somebody took the time out of their day to listen to me and then converse with me about it. And I'm like, you took precious minutes of, like, you have a life and a job and a family and responsibilities, and you spent some of those minutes on me.
Mhm.
And that is like, that blows my mind to forever. That will blow my mind. But it really helped me find a piece of myself I had lost too,
Yeah.
like just this creative outlet that I don't get other places.
Yeah. And you do some really cool creative stuff. You did one recently where with the inn, the decorating the inn. Am I
Yeah.
recalling that correctly?
Yeah, and then there was the doctor. I don't know. Every now and then I go
Yes,
through a
your
skit phase.
preternaturals.
Oh yeah,
You're
yeah.
like you're preternaturally still,
Yeah.
which is funny because for those of us who follow you, we know that you just are on
Oh
preternatural
my
watch all day
gosh.
long. And now I'm re-listening to. I had done an eyeball read of it, but I'm listening to it. I'm doing the Kindred Saga
Oh,
over,
woo!
mostly because I'm speaking of FOMO. On one hand, it's very lovely. I'm moving to Europe, so I can't physically go to the ball, but I'm watching
Yeah.
everyone start to post about the Everflame ball, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, maybe I could just push my move off for like a month. It's fine. I can't, but it's I'm having so I was like I
Yeah.
love that series. So I was like, let me
Yeah.
re-listen to it, and I find myself counting every time I listen, and I'm like, this is insane. This is so funny because it's so true. And it's something that's so a part of like the fantasy community that
Mhm.
you bring a lot of fun into that. But your skits are quite funny. You should definitely do more of those.
Thank you. I would do more of them, but like as I was saying earlier, in like the realm of content, time to create
Yeah.
content, those involve like I write them ahead of time and what am I wearing and then the editing and like so
Yeah.
sometimes I save those. That's like a weekend
Yeah.
project. But I do love them. It's funny you bring up the preternaturally thing because that's such an example of I did not want that to be a thing. That was not that other people did that to me. And now 7 months later, we are still on Pret Watch as a community. But it's one of those things where sometimes inside jokes like that or collective experiences are
Yeah.
what bring a community together because people are participating in something
Yeah.
together. And even recently, I've had a few new followers message me and they're like, is it okay if I ask you what Pret Watch is? Like, I wasn't here. I don't know
Yeah.
what people are doing. And I always send people voice memos to explain it. And they're like, that's hilarious. And then they start finding it. And like, it's like this secret society, you know, but anyone can join. We're an open cult, I guess. But it's just, but it happened on its own
Yeah.
because other people are creative and funny too. And as soon as I didn't know what that word was, people were like, we'll show you what that word, you know, and
It's in every fantasy book you've ever read.
it lives on its own now. I will never escape it.
It does, but I think you're right. It's one of those things where when I see it, I'm like, Jess. And it pulls you back in to those spaces where you're
Mhm.
like, oh, people that, like, obviously, I don't really know you. I know who you are
Yeah.
online, but just to be like, oh, there are people out there that value what I value or like the same things that I like, and to be able to just have that moment even when I'm not on my phone to be like, oh, a group of people who are gonna laugh at this thing if I
Mhm.
posted it and they whatever, they'll laugh about it because we're all talking about it. And I think you're right. I think that's one of the best parts. But I think your book account in particular feels very central to this place of come, be, and let's have fun. And I think that there is like coming back to like women and to identity and I think for so many women and across the board, doesn't matter how you identify yourself in the different roles that you are as like human, book
Mhm.
reader, mom, teacher, or whatever. And I think we just all get stuck trying to spin all of these plates and we're looking up at them like, is one gonna fall? Is one gonna
Mhm.
crash? Am I gonna die under a pile of laundry? Are the dishes
Mhm.
gonna get washed? And I know that's not that for everybody, but there is a semblance of that for everybody. And so
Mhm.
when you have even these moments when I'm doing something for me like super domestic, like I said, I have two teenage sisters who never wear anything twice, so I'm just laundry all day.
Yeah.
And I'll be listening to an audiobook and I'll hear something and it makes me want to reach for my phone and just be like, hey, to the small group of people that I have actually met through your space. And I will say that you've also, a few weeks ago, you had posted, this was in March, the Book Bits Club. Those two girls, Cassie and Emily, you had posted their romantasy thing. I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing it. Was never more invested in anything in my entire life.
Oh, that one had me stressed.
And every time they would post the results, I was like, understand, but this is wrong. This is
so
inaccurate so many times. And especially, I think like Kaol lost to Imogen at once. And I was like, I want to throw my phone across the room. But this is the connectivity that we have because we love these characters, Chol to you, however you may be pronouncing it these days. And you ended up connecting me to their account. And now I'm like, hi, are we friends? Like, I love your stuff. But something that's so beautiful about your space is conversations and connection over stuff that isn't maybe top of people's book lists.
Yeah.
And therefore different and interesting conversations than you might get from the 30,000th hot take that you've got about Elaine or whatever.
Yeah. And it's funny because there's a space for that, right? So like Throne of Glass and Crescent City were really my not gateway, but like a way I found a lot of people, right? Because this is the content that a lot of people want to consume, or that the algorithm is like, here you go, everybody. So I loved that helped me connect with people. But then I made a pretty decided choice that I wasn't going to keep posting about Throne of Glass or keep posting about Crescent City. I'm not reading them right now. And I want to talk about the things I'm currently reading. And but then you watch your numbers drop. Right. And this is where we get back to that idea of like, what's my goal? What am I trying to do? Do I want numbers, or do I want to do what I want to do? Because there's a lot of times I'm reading a book and I think, wow, I have so many interesting things to say, and not very many people watch it. But I'm like, wow, it's kind of pretty cool that 2,000 people watched what I had to, say about that book. But that's another piece of it, is there's such a drive, like you said, to talk about what more people are consuming, and it's hard to balance that too. But
so which book, a question in twofold, which book overall, or which series, we can go with the series, it doesn't have to be a standalone, has brought you the most joy since you've started?
Okay, all right. Oh boy. Okay,
no pressure.
No. So most joy would be, it has to be the Kindred's Curse saga for myself. Like, I had the most personal fun theorizing about that book and drawing pictures and connecting with Penn Cole through DMs. I was like, oh my God, like an author is DMing me. Like, what a day to be alive. But, and that book has built me such a community. Like, I met so many people because of that book series. But I also had a tremendous, like, there is something nostalgic about the Throne of Glass bulletin boards. And as much as I'm like, I'm not talking about Throne of Glass anymore, although I am because co-host is reading it, I do have this, like, I took so many risks while I was reading Throne of Glass. I went to Walmart and bought a bulletin board and thumbtacks, like, I'm going to make something out of it, and it turned into another community thing.
Yeah.
So I will always be nostalgic for Throne of Glass, but I think I had the most fun with Kindred's Curse saga.
Yeah, Penn Cole is definitely amazing. I did an eyeball read, and my best friend, who's also, she makes macarons for a living, and she makes like all these funky, whimsical macarons, and then she makes like bookish ones every once in a while. So I was like, oh, I started listening to the audiobook. I texted her. I was like, I started listening to the audiobook, and I was like, and she's pronouncing it Corbois.
Yep.
And I was like, this is disturbing to me.
How are you saying it?
Corboy.
Okay.
And my best friend texts me back, and she goes, because I'm sending it to her in voice memo. I'm like, I was saying it Corboy. How are you saying it? And she was like, Corbius. So now I'm crying. And then I was thinking about it. I'm driving home because I live in New York, but I drive to Massachusetts. So I have a 3-hour drive to get back and forth to work. And as I'm driving back, I'm like 2 hours into the book, like the Spark of the Everflame. And I'm like, Pencole lives in Paris. It's probably Courbois. I was like, I never knew that until after,
Yeah.
but like I was reminiscing on it and I was like, I follow her now and I know that she lives in Paris
Yeah.
and it's probably Courbois. And then I put it on Threads and I was like, can you just, how is this supposed to be pronounced? Because I didn't say
Yeah.
like in the audiobook they're saying it Courbois, which I'm sure like the audiobook
Yeah.
had all the pronunciations. And she was like, yeah, she said BWAH,
Yep.
and somebody else rethreaded that and they were like, oh, it's like mwah, but with a B. And I was like hysterical laughing and I was like, Pencole DM'd me back
Yep.
in less than 24 hours. I was like, I don't know what world I'm living in, but am I best friends with Pencole?
You might be at this
And
point.
like she was like, it's all on my page, you can find it all over there. But yeah, I love the Kindred Curse saga and I find that the people that like that book it's the same type of community that you draw onto your page.
Yeah.
Where it's just like very into the theorizing, really love the characters, really want to connect over it. And so I really love that you love the Kindred Curse saga because I think
Yeah.
it doesn't get enough
Yeah.
people that are like, this is an amazing, amazing book. I can't wait for the last one to come out.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited.
And what's your favorite book been this year?
This year, so like since January. Yes.
Year's going by fast.
The year is going by fast. Okay, I'm gonna pick 3.
Okay, great.
For 3 different reasons.
Cool.
Blood Over Brighthaven will never leave me. I will be getting put in my coffin thinking about the themes in that book and the characters, and just like something about that book altered how I look at everything. And I don't know how it happened, but by the time I was done, I was like, oh, this is about us.
Yeah.
God.
This book about us.
So that's like probably my favorite because it was so perfect in this one book. Like, oh wow. Second would be Sunrise Over the Reaping, the newest Hunger Games book. That one, favorite of the year, probably more because of nostalgia. I mean, the book was amazing, but I was a Hunger Games fan when they were first published, and then to get that story and to have Suzanne just be like, excuse me while I home run it out of the park, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
So that one. And then third is a book other people haven't read yet. It's like one of the only arcs I've ever read is I read Carissa's newest Crowns of Nyaxia book that's coming out in August. It might be my favorite book of the year by the time I because yeah. And I have so many books to read before that book even comes out, and I'm already naming that it's probably gonna be, it's so good.
I agree with you. Blood Over Brighthaven was one of those books that I put it down and I was like, it's like tiramisu, like it's layered. It's not even like there's a central bad thing. There's just so many layers of what is happening in that book, and it's quite profound. Anyway, if you're listening to this and you have not read that, read with caution. Read with tissues, read with a security blanket.
Yes.
But do read it because it is a really great book. Phenomenal book. I did not read Sunrise on the Reaping yet. It's on my list. It's on there. I'm kind of just like, I get it.
Yeah.
I also read The Hunger Games. I feel nostalgic for them, but then I feel the same way that I felt when House of the Dragon came back out, which is like, do I really want to go back into Game of Thrones? Do I really want to be in a world? Part of what draws me back in is something like the Kindred saga, which is like, I like that world. I like the different realms. I like what's going on there. And part of what draws me in is the world, more so the characters, but usually the world is a big piece of that too. And I'm always like, do I want to go into the Hunger Games when things are so bleak? I don't know.
And that book, girl, it is bleak. It is.
I'm sure.
I'm struggling. Like if you were like, Jess, hot take, the 5 happiest moments of that book, I'd be like 0. You know, I mean, so it's another one you got to be like, I'm ready. I actually loaned it to one of my students, and they keep coming into my classroom every morning, and they're like, "This is terrible. Everything is bad." I'm like, I told you.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to, I'm theorizing about your own life right now.
Oh gosh.
Do you feel like between Blood Over Brighthaven and Reaping Over the Sunrise have caused your existential crisis at present?
If anything, they had me burrow deeper into it. I love feeling things from books, and I love books that make me feel like a hot mess. I struggle sometimes, like every now, I went through a phase of romance novels, like the
Yeah,
stereotypical rom-coms.
sure.
And I love that genre, and I love that people love that genre. But I struggle anymore to read it unless it's like, wow, I just read 6 heavy books in a row. I
Yeah.
need 2 people to just be really happy. Because I just love being like, what does this book do to me? You know, like, and maybe that's the masochist in me. I don't know. But I love drama because I don't have a lot of drama in my life. Probably my so about other people's drama. So no, I think, well, those 2 books made me feel a little bit better about my life because I was like, man, I don't live there. So I'm doing okay for now.
So one of the things I don't do you watch Marvel at all?
No, and I mean minimally.
Okay. I love Marvel was like one of those things that I like rediscovered in the bookish space because what I love more than anything is I love a fandom. I love
Oh
people
yeah.
who love something. I worked for Disney, okay?
Oh, that's
I'm
awesome.
a part of what I would call probably Disney adults. I'm not so much in it anymore, but
Yeah.
when I worked there, certainly. And I always shied away from like I wouldn't start a series because I would be afraid that I would be so invested in it that I would
Mm-hmm.
have to finish it. And for many years, like my best friend, she would like always joke because I would be like, I don't know if I want to read that because
Mm-hmm.
that seems like a big commitment and I know how I get.
Oh
I
yeah.
like would not listen to One Direction for many years because I was like, I know if I listen to them, this is a gateway drug. It's like that's it. I'm never going to think about anything else. And then it happened.
So funny.
I swear. Because I was one of those people like Taylor Swift came out 2007. I saw her show 2008. I saw her like on her Fearless tour. And I was like, this is it. If you could just tell me that I could sell my soul to this woman right here, I would. So,
Are you still a Swiftie now?
100%.
That's amazing.
100%. Um, and gladly went to go see her on the Eras tour and did not have to sell an arm and a leg. But so I really wouldn't get into series like book series. And same thing with Marvel. I was like, I always loved going to see them as movies. I never had any idea what was going on, and I would refuse to let myself figure out what was going on because I knew I would be sucked into a vortex
Yep.
and I would never come back from it. So when the pandemic happened, I was like, I'm going to do it. Disney Plus came out and I was like, I could do it in both orders and no one can stop me.
Today's the day.
But time. So I went down the rabbit hole and I was like, oh, I actually have seen all of these movies. I just had no idea what was going on because I would like let myself check out. So anyway, this is a long-winded way to say that I went to go see Thunderbolts this morning. And so much of the movie was about mental health. And I was like, I'm crying over this thing. And I left and I got into my car and then the Kindred Saga came on. Glow of the Everflame is playing in the background. And I paused it and I was like, it is such a gift to be so moved by these pieces of art that, and again, like superhero movies, very similar to, I would say like rom-coms where it's like, it might seem facetious in nature, but there's so much in these texts or like when people are like fantasy novels and it's like, no, when you read something like Blood Over Brighthaven, sure, it's getting like deemed as like maybe sci-fi or fantasy. I'm sure it's probably categorized as like both in that genre, but it's a profound book. I shut my Kindle last night and I was laying in bed with my cats on me like ants on a log. And I was just like, I'll be thinking about this for a long, long time. And then I appreciate it because then I can go to your page and I can look at what you've thought about it too.
Thank you. That's funny. It's funny because one of the few and far between criticisms I've received from the online community is about my lack of criticism. Like that I'm always promoting what I enjoyed about a book. And I think you just nailed why that is like the soapbox that I stand upon. It's because life is hard enough. And I choose when I'm reading to find what I enjoy about it. And I also know that I'm choosing books that I'm probably going to like.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not, if I picked up a book and I didn't like it in 2 chapters, I'm probably not talking about it on the internet because I don't have anything to say other than I put it down.
Yeah.
And I find that there's so much power in seeking the joy in reading. And I cannot think of a single book that I have finished in this life that I did not have something I liked about. But sometimes I've had people like you, it's funny because I thought of this earlier when you said that you trust my book recommendations. I've actually had people tell me they don't trust my book recommendations because they think I'm not, since I never criticize anything, that I'm making up how much I enjoyed everything. And I'm like, no, I'm just choosing to promote the ones I liked. But I do have more people in my space who are like, no, I can tell we are similar readers. So if you're saying you had fun reading it, I'll probably have fun
Yeah.
reading it. But it's funny because criticism and negativity, again, get attention.
Yeah.
And so it's so tempting, but I really believe more people want to talk about what they loved than what they don't love,
Yeah.
but it's vulnerable. And so I love
Yeah.
trying to provide that space to be like, no, I loved it and I cried about it and I'm sleeping with the book under my pillow tonight. And if you want to tell me about it, we can talk, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
And I think as somebody who, when we get that like expansion out into some of the other parts of your world, the reason why I take despite the fact that you're not criticizing them, which like who cares? Like why do we need to be criticizing stuff for it reading is a hobby, not like we're not I know
Yeah.
that we're like all online talking about this stuff, but like we're not a book critic. Like it's just reading. I'm just
Yeah.
doing this thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I know even though I know that we don't always read the same stuff, I know that because you enjoyed it and because I know that you think deeply about things,
Mm-hmm.
and when you share your thoughts about something, I'm always like, that's quite profound. Like I really enjoyed that
Yeah.
perspective of that. But just when we get to see like into the purview, like the life expanding out, like beyond the page of Jess's life,
Yeah.
is somebody who is glass half full, is somebody who is seeking joy. It's not that you're just seeking joy here. And even when you share stuff and you're like, this has been hard, you always tag it with, and I just wanted to let you know that this is what I'm experiencing, so that if you're experiencing this too, it's okay, and I see you and I've got you. Or I know that's not necessarily exactly what you're saying,
Yeah.
but
I know what you mean.
when I see you expand out into your world, I'm like, that's somebody who looks for joy everywhere.
And a lot of that is really, I mean, and this is where it's been such a vulnerable space for me. A lot of that is people watching my real journey with that in real time. Because, like I mentioned, when I started this account, and even for the whole time I've had it, I am dealing with a lot of things in my life. We all have a life outside of that phone rectangle. And sometimes some of the things I'm posting are me working through that. I am a verbal thinker, I am a visual thinker, and sometimes I talk to myself in the shower about what's going on with my day, and I'm like, that might help somebody else. I'm going to run downstairs, grab my cup of coffee, and say that in case anybody else is feeling that way too. So I feel like some people who've been on my account for an extended period of time have kind of watched some of those realizations in real time happen for me. And I'm still working on a lot of things, but it's been fun to have people in my corner because I've had so many extended conversations and vulnerable conversations with people who are going through things. I mean, I've had people share things with me that I'm like, I cannot believe you are sharing this with objectively a stranger on the internet, but I am proud of them. And I hold their truths and their secrets. Like I would never talk about them, but they clearly needed someone too, and that is so special to me. Those like mental health pieces of sharing my journey so that other people feel like they can share theirs as well. I don't know, but yeah, it's good stuff. There's really good stuff to be had when you are vulnerable. If anything, if I could put a tagline of what I've learned in the last year and a half, it's there's good things to be had when you are vulnerable. And a lot of people really fear that space, or they're not ready to be in that space. And not that you have to do it on social media. Vulnerability doesn't have to happen on the internet. It can just happen in your life. Of course. And it's happening for me in my life in different ways outside of the internet as well. But that's such a lesson I've learned from opening up to people and having shared experiences with people.
Yeah. And I think a lot of your vulnerability too is also in this like space of authenticity. What it is to show up online is like I'm not a perfectly curated, Instagrammable, like you said, just like gonna grab my coffee, put on my robe, sit on my couch and like chat,
Yeah.
And the things that you talk about and the things that you share, I just think are so authentic. I could just tell that like, okay, well when you press stop, like you probably continue the conversation on with whoever's around you. And that's the type of vulnerability that gives permission, or the type of authenticity that gives people permission to endeavor to try that for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So before I let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening, every episode I do a burn book. The Bold and Bothered Award, which is an award that I give every episode that is strictly for the Femme and the Furious, which is obviously the title of the podcast. So if you have, we can go through.
Do I have a Bold and Bothered?
Do you have a Bold and Bothered?
From my own life?
From like a character, or you could go with books if that makes it easier for you.
I want to have one.
I can give you one that's coming up off the top of my head that I know that you read.
Hit me with
Tisana.
it. I think I have okay, I have one. I'm ready. Okay. My Bold and Bothered from books is my girl Lysandra.
Yes.
From Throne of Glass.
Yes.
Okay? Because the world dealt her an absolute garbage hand.
Very true.
And then I don't know if spoilers are acceptable here, but
yes.
She took that and she said, I'm going to literally be a man-eater now. And it was amazing. She is mine. Tisana can be one too, honestly, but Lysandra would be like my OG Bold and Bothered.
Yeah. I love that.
Yep.
Okay. Then we have the Shiro Award. This can just go to like your favorite female main character.
Okay. That award I would give to currently my favorite female main character for reasons that I cannot fully divulge is Misha from the second duology in the Crowns of Nyaxia. She is really on a journey to find herself and to figure out who she is when pieces of herself go missing, and the way I identify with that and the way that she is determined to still maintain herself but also do what she needs to do. She's my current peak.
I love that. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Okay. The Femme Fatale Award, which is the most smash the patriarchy. Lysandra would fit here too, but you could pick anybody.
Smashing the patriarchy. I mean, that one might need to be Tisana.
Yeah.
Tisana showed up in that book series with a mission. She was determined to get things done. And her goal had to shift, but she wanted there to be a better world. And she did not want the unjust structures of their world to continue.
Yeah.
So she's that one for me.
I agree. When I was reading that book, at the part where they're doing the bargain in the first book, and I was like, this is either going to be, like, he's either going along with this because he's got one over on her, or she's the smartest female main character that has ever been written. Yeah. And it just turned out it was the latter, not the former. And I was really grateful for that. And I remember, like, at that moment, at the end, when, like, all of that stuff is coming to fruition, spoilers for Daughter of No Worlds, but we'll put spoilers. I'll put general spoilers at the top. When that is starting to unfold, I remember being like, I think Tisana is my favorite character.
Oh, she's so good.
I love her so much. Okay, Speak Your Truth trophy. Usually I give this to like the best line of the episode or the best quote of the episode. Obviously we don't have any because we didn't talk about anything, but you can either go with your favorite or you can go with a character that you're just like, yeah, always down to do so.
So a character with good quotes is what you're saying. No.
Or a character that or a character that always speaks their truth, that is...
Well, in that case, say less. We're going to go back to the Daughter of No Worlds, War of Lost Hearts trilogy, to the one, the only Maxentarius Farleone, who has never spoken a non-truth a day in his life. He was not made for this. In fact, that quote should just be the quote of my life. That's the reason I've had issues in my life. I wasn't made for those things that I was trying to do.
I think about that every once in a while. I'm like, Maxentarius Farleone was not made for this, and neither was I.
No.
So I'd agree with you. That's a good one. Okay, honorary heartthrob. Any character, your heartthrob character. This is the character you're giving it all for.
Luther. Luther taught me that I could fall out of my chair reading what someone had to say about something. Like, his quotes live rent free. He wants to bathe in the blood of her enemies. I don't know, that man, he's a book husband, not a book boyfriend. He's a whole thing.
When I think about what I want most, and when I think about Luther, I am like, there is not a singular other person. I do not care. I know there are other book boyfriends that are at the top of the internet's list.
Right.
Nobody does devotion.
No.
Devoted. Pious. She is the temple at which he worships.
No, 100%. 100%. And if that man, listen, if the fourth book doesn't end with that man in a cottage with an apple orchard and a goat, I am rioting somewhere respectfully because it's the author's choice. But like, I'm gonna be like, no, like, because I don't care if everybody else dies. Honestly, Luther better get everything he wants out of that book series.
Luther as the honorary heartthrob. I keep a list of my book boyfriends every year as I'm going through all of the books that I'm reading. Luther consistently number one because I reread it as often as possible.
Well, see, like Luther is my like unrealistic top book boyfriend, but like as far as book boyfriends, I think I would actually get along with, because I think Luther would have no time of day for me and my drama. I think Max and I would get along swimmingly. So he's like the top of my realistic list. Whereas Luther is just, I don't know. I remember when I thought, oh gosh, okay, Throne of Glass fans, don't come for me. I remember when I thought Rowan was the peak of book men that could be written. And then I learned otherwise. And I stand on that hill.
Listen, I love Throne of Glass, like everyone else. It's a top tier fantasy. It's up there. When I say the entire time, I was like, it's Fenris for me.
Yes! We need a Fenris epilogue.
I was like, it's Fenris for me. Dorian, sure. Okay.
No.
Kaol, fine. Rowan, okay. I'm not saying they're not great. Don't come for me, internet. I'm just saying Fenris is up there with Luther for me.
You just want your last name to be Moonbeam. Come on now. Be honest.
I just not into Omegaverse in any other context except, in fact, I've tried to dabble in it many times and I'm like, it's not for me. Can't do it. Can't take it seriously. I'm not a serious enough person to take the Omegaverse at face value like other people can. I would die for Fenris. So Fenris is up there, and I've discovered through Luther and through Fenris that what I desperately need is devotion. But I agree with you. I do not think either one of them would have any time for me. And when I, like, same thing with, like, everyone's like, oh my god, Xaden. And I'm like, I would date Bodhi. He's hot. He's powerful. No one's paying attention to him. That's my kind of guy.
I have no strong emotions about Xaden. Maybe this is why I haven't read Onyx Storm.
Yes,
I don't know. I'm not going to spoil. When I got to the end of Iron Flame, I went, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. No. Like, all right.
Don't come for you.
No, I mean, actually, go ahead and come for me. I don't care. I mean, if you feel passionately, we'll talk.
I can understand why you don't have strong opinions about Xaden.
Yeah.
I have stronger opinions about Bodhi. I'm like, the little side guy, probably, like, Taryn would be, me and Taryn would get along. I think he's a fully gay character. Still, Lavender Marriage. Would be so happy with it. Me and Taryn would get along so well.
You would have a great time.
And that would be totally fine for me. I would be so happy and content in my life because I agree with you. I think I am not serious enough for Luther.
No.
I feel like if Luther was at my feet and he was like, I would soak in the blood of your enemies, I'd be like, what enemies? I don't
know who you taking out, man.
There's no one around. It's just me and 3 cats. So I probably don't have enough going on in my life. But he's at the top of my list. I mean,
no, I will read about him all day long.
Yeah. He's wonderful. And so are you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Femme and Furious. If you like this episode, share it out with your friends. Tag me at Femme and Furious Pod and tag Jess at The Lost Books of Jess. Share it out on your socials. Leave a review. And I will see you back on Monday. We are doing the last episode, the season finale of The Last of Us. And then I'll be back on Thursday doing a little bit more book content. Okay, we're talking about The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. And then starting in June, we will be doing all of Emily Henry's books. So that will be Beach Read, The People We Meet on Vacation, Book Lovers, Happy Place, and Funny Story. And if you are looking for content or anything around her newest book, Great Big Beautiful Life, I already released that episode. It's out in the wild. You can go listen to it now. Otherwise, I will see you back here on Monday for The Last of Us. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until then, stay joyful.